Welcome to the Psychology and Physical Training channel. Have you ever wondered how your behavior is influenced by the society around you? This is a question at the heart of social psychology. Social psychology is a fascinating field that studies how individuals' thoughts, feelings, and behaviors are influenced by the actual imagined or implied presence of others. It's a bit like peering through a looking glass into the intricacies of human behavior and societal interactions. Now, you might be wondering, how do we study something as complex and dynamic as social behavior? Well, one crucial method is through experimentation. Think of experimentation as a grand theatrical production. It's a controlled environment where we can isolate certain variables to see how they interact, much like a director guiding their actors on stage. In the context of social psychology, these variables might be anything from social norms and group dynamics to individual attitudes and beliefs. The beauty of experimentation lies in its ability to establish cause and effect relationships. For instance, if we want to understand if exposure to violent media influences aggressive behavior, we could set up an experiment. We would have two groups, one exposed to violent media and the other not, then measure their subsequent behavior. If the group exposed to violent media behaves more aggressively, we can start to infer a causal relationship. But why is this important? Well, understanding these cause and effect relationships helps us predict behavior. It's like having a map of the human mind guiding us through the maze of social interactions. It aids us in creating interventions, formulating policies, and even just understanding why we behave the way we do. In essence, experimentation in social psychology offers us a structured and scientific way to explore the complex dance of human interaction. It's not just about observing behavior, it's about understanding the why behind it. So, experimentation is the key to unlock the mysteries of our social behavior. Now let's delve deeper. In the world of social psychology, not everything is as straightforward as it seems. There are many variables at play that can influence the outcomes of our experiments. Among these, one key player is the mediating variable. Now, what exactly is this elusive element? A mediating variable, or mediator, is essentially a variable that explains the relationship between the independent and the dependent variables. It's like the middleman in a transaction. It helps us understand how or why certain outcomes occur. Let's consider an example to make this clear. Imagine we're studying the impact of stress on academic performance. Stress is our independent variable, and academic performance is our dependent variable. Now let's introduce a mediating variable, say sleep quality. It might be that stress affects sleep quality, which in turn affects academic performance. So sleep quality is our mediating variable. It helps explain the process through which stress impacts academic performance. Mediating variables are crucial in social psychology as they add depth to our understanding of human behavior. They help us to see beyond simple cause and effect relationships and to appreciate the complex interplay of factors that shape our actions and reactions. Take, for instance, a study on the impact of social exclusion on aggressive behavior. Here, the feeling of anger could act as a mediating variable. Social exclusion might lead to feelings of anger, which in turn could lead to aggressive behavior. By identifying anger as a mediating variable, we gain a more nuanced understanding of why social exclusion can lead to aggression. In conclusion, mediating variables play a pivotal role in social psychology experiments. They help us to delve deeper into the intricate web of factors that dictate social behavior. By considering these mediators, we can design better experiments and interpret our findings in a more informed and insightful manner. Therefore, mediating variables add layers of complexity to our understanding of social behavior. While the pursuit of knowledge is noble, it must never compromise the well-being of individuals involved. In the vast world of social psychology, experimentation serves as a bridge between theoretical concepts and real-world applications. Yet, just as a bridge requires sturdy pillars for support, experimentation relies on the firm foundation of ethics. Ethics, in this context, represents the moral principles governing the conduct of researchers, ensuring that the dignity, rights, and welfare of the participants are upheld at all times. So, what are some of the key ethical considerations in social psychology experiments? Firstly, we have informed consent. This principle ensures that participants are fully aware of the procedures and potential risks involved in the experiment. They should be given enough information to make a voluntary decision about their participation. It's like agreeing to a journey only after knowing the route and possible roadblocks. Next is the principle of confidentiality. Just as we value our personal secrets, participants' information should be kept private and anonymous. This safeguards their identity and fosters trust between the researcher and the participant. Thirdly, we have the principle of debriefing. After the experiment, researchers should explain the purpose of the study and the methods used. This helps in alleviating any possible negative effects that the experiment may have had on the participants. Think of it as a cool-down period after a vigorous workout. Lastly, we have the principle of beneficence, which emphasizes the need to maximize potential benefits and minimize possible harm. In essence, researchers should strive to ensure that the positive outcomes of the experiment outweigh any potential negative impacts. However, it's important to note that these principles are not checkboxes to be ticked off. They should be actively incorporated into every stage of the experiment, from the design phase to data analysis and reporting. In essence, ethics in experimentation is a balancing act. Researchers must navigate the tightrope between the pursuit of knowledge and the respect for human dignity and rights. It's a challenging task, no doubt, but an absolutely essential one. Ethics thus serve as the guiding light in the murky waters of experimentation. A laboratory is a controlled environment, but does it truly mirror the complexities of real life? In the realm of social psychology, we often grapple with this question. The laboratory, with its sterile environment, fixed variables, and precise measurements, is a far cry from the chaotic, unpredictable nature of real-life social interactions. So, how do we bridge this chasm between the lab and life? For starters, we need to address the elephant in the room: external validity. This is the extent to which the results of a study can be generalized to other situations and other people. In other words, do our findings in the lab hold true in the real world? This is where things get tricky. You see, in a lab, we control variables to isolate cause and effect. But in life, variables are rarely isolated. They interact, interfere, and intertwine in ways we can't always predict or control. Take, for instance, a study on conformity. In a lab, you might find that individuals conform to group norms under certain conditions. But in real life, those conditions are influenced by countless other factors: culture, personality, peer pressure, the list goes on. This makes it challenging to generalize lab findings to the real world. However, this is not to say that lab studies are useless, far from it. They provide a solid foundation, a starting point from which we can begin to unravel the intricate web of social interactions. They give us clues, hypotheses to test, theories to build upon, and most importantly, they push us to question, to probe deeper, to seek answers beyond the confines of the lab. So, while the lab may not be a perfect reflection of life, it is an essential tool in our quest to understand human behavior. It allows us to strip away the noise and focus on the signal, to isolate the variables that matter, to test our theories in a controlled environment. And in doing so, it provides valuable insights that we can then apply to the messiness of real life. Just like a map is not the territory, a laboratory is not life, yet it does provide valuable insights. Sometimes, the best way to understand behavior is to observe it in its natural habitat. Let's dive into the world of field experiments. These are not your typical lab experiments. They are conducted in real-world settings where people are going about their normal routines. The beauty of this is that it allows us to see behavior as it naturally unfolds, without the constraints of a controlled laboratory environment. Field experiments can be incredibly diverse. They might study the psychology of shopping by observing people in a grocery store, or they could examine group dynamics during a soccer match. The common thread is that they all take place in the wild, so to speak, in the midst of everyday life. Now, field experiments do have their perks. One major advantage is their external validity. Because they are conducted in real-world settings, the findings are often more generalizable. They offer a slice of life, capturing behavior in its natural context. But, as with anything in life, field experiments come with their own set of challenges. For one, they lack the control that laboratory experiments provide. This means that external factors, which the experimenter has no control over, can influence the results. It could be anything from a sudden change in weather to an unexpected event that impacts the participant's behavior. Another potential pitfall is the issue of participant consent. In many field experiments, participants are not aware they are part of a study. This poses ethical considerations, as informed consent is a key principle in psychological research. And finally, field experiments can be more time-consuming and expensive than their laboratory counterparts. They often require more resources, from securing the location to coordinating with local authorities. In spite of these challenges, field experiments have a unique place in social psychology. They provide a window into human behavior in its most authentic form, revealing insights that laboratory experiments may miss. Field experiments, despite their challenges, bring us closer to the reality of social behavior. And if you feel this video is useful, do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to the Psychology and Physical Training channel. Thank you for watching.